Howdy folks, and welcome to another episode of Stanley in the Sea Can. So today we have, well, probably a pretty boring video about SKSs. So this is an SKS, it's got a little dealie, and I don't know what this is, probably some crap. Let's throw that out. And yeah, I guess you could jazz it up like this, but probably no one wants to do that. So yeah, that's it, that's a wrap. Oh, the camera lady's saying we should probably talk about this. So, I guess we can do that. We'll oblige. So, today, folks, is going to be our big release of a SKS chassis. So, the chassis are not new, especially these ones. They're not new to the market. They've been out for years, and then they kind of fade away, and they kind of come back, and they kind of fade away. So, we bought all the existing stock, and we are going to rock and roll these things, and we're going to make them, not only are they back, they're affordable now. So, inside of this chassis, we have a standard SKS. It's hitting the bull catch because there's a magazine in there. So it's basically now you get a pretty cool looking thing. You got like an AR style buffer tube, adjustable stock, beaver tail grips here. So you can put whatever you want on there, your favorite grip. Maybe we'll give you one of these fancy grips. And we run these cool big magazines. Sweet. So this is just running the standard duckbill. This is a Pro Mag, I believe. Yep, Pro Mag magazine. So it just runs your standard Pro Mags, and then you're good to go. So this gives you all sorts of cool mounting options, right? Now you can put like a laser or a flashlight or all sorts of cool toys up here. You still get your bayonet. You could still probably put your cleaning rod in there, all this fun stuff. And now we're in a platform that has kind of more tactical feel. It's kind of like a black gun. And so yeah, let's rock this while we can. So what I thought we'd do in this video is we would talk about how to do this. Like how do you take your wooden SKS donor gun that you've got at home, and how do you make it into this? And how hard is it? How many tools? You know, how much gunsmithing? Blah blah blah. So the good news is it's pretty simple. You probably need a Dremel for a couple of things, but you could probably get away with it with a hand file too. I'll show you in just a sec as we get into things. So yeah, this is the SKS chassis. We're calling it, nothing fancy there, with just a standard rail. So we're still going to run iron sights on this. And there's a nice little groove through there so we can run our iron sights and see right through from here all the way out the front. Yeah, you still have access to open her up and take the guts out, and you've got lots of room for stripper clips and things on here if you want to run those. So when we get to it, I'll show you how to do this. Alrighty, folks, we are back. So you just saw the black chassis. And we also have an FDE chassis. I'm not going to call it totally black. It's blackish. Some might say it's a dark gray. It's a this or that. It's impossible with these colors. And this thing here, it's not truly the Magpul FDE, but it's FDE-ish. It looks cool. It gives you that kind of desert tan type look. So here is our SKS. I've taken a couple liberties here because I don't want this video to last, 17 hours like my normal videos go. Of course, you're going to prove the firearm safe. You look in there, make sure the feed path is good. I did all that before the video started. We're going to verify the feed, verify the chamber, everything's good. Safety is on here. And then to remove the trigger group of an SKS, you've got right down in here is a little kind of a little tab dealie with a hole in it. And that hole fits a cartridge nicely. Or you could put a punch in there and whack it with a rubber hammer. So, it's only going to work with the safety on though, because like the safety has this little ear thing right here. So as I move this, you see it kind of like goes up, and that jams this little finger thing from moving. So we don't want that. It needs to be clear to move. So safety has to be on, and we can just kind of drive this up on a bit of an angle, and she should pop right out, just like that. So again, I know I'm hammering on guns. This is an SKS. I wouldn't be proud, right? Sickles, hammers, files, chisels, vodka. That's what we need to fix an SKS, right? And that's kind of what we're doing here today. So we knocked out that pin. Now you can see our trigger group is dropped down a little bit. So it's kind of popped past that little lever thing. So now I can just kind of rip it out, right? It kind of pivots out. It's got these little pins. I'll show you in just a sec. Maybe. Here we go. So these two pins up here are what's engaging in the receiver. I'll show you how that goes in just a second, but that's kind of done that. And now that the trigger group is out, we can take our OEM duckbill out, and it was held in place, kind of like that, locked in place. So now this is gone, this can go, and we just throw that right in the garbage because we don't need that anymore. And to get this bad boy out of the stock, it's usually easier to open the bayonet Not necessarily a requirement though. I believe the cleaning rod has to come out though, because that's kind of pinned in. So we'll rip that out, put them aside. We'll use them later. And this kind of rocks and rolls right out. Sometimes you can push it on like this upside down and the stock rolls out of there. So it's kind of in that little front clip right here. And as you roll it out, out comes the stock. So that's the biggest first challenge of this. We got the stock off. Leave that, put that aside. We don't need that anymore. And to fit into this chassis, this little wooden piece here that's on our, it's kind of like the gas tube. There's a piston inside of there. There's another little baby piston in here, right? So we got to get this thing off and we need to get this wood off. So the way you do that is with this little lever here. So we slide it up until it kind of has a little notch there. So you'll see this, the front sight's missing. I'll talk about that in a second here, but we can see that this little flapper thing here, it's like a half circle thing. It's rotating with this lever. So now that it's in this open position, this gas tube assembly with the gas piston in it will slide out. And it's probably going to be a little bit tricky, so you're going to want to wiggle it. You're going to want to do all sorts of fun stuff to get her out. So now, get the piston out of there. This is a great time to clean all this stuff. It could be, depending on which version you have, this could be all packed with grease or Cosmo or whatever, or crud. Same with your piston. Take a quick peek at her. Make sure she looks good. It looks good. It's not all greasy and cruddy. And yeah, so now you need to get this wood off. And so the front here is integral with this gas tube. So we can't do anything to the front of it. We got to work on the back. So this is the first part where a Dremel or a drill might be useful. There's a pin we can kind of see right there. This has been a little bit helped by some gunsmith guy. And yeah, so this pin is going to be basically up flush with this surface, and it's preventing this metal end cap, for lack of better terms, from popping off. And it's also this metal end cap is what's holding this wood on place. So we're going to have to get rid of that pin. So sometimes maybe you can drive them out. Sometimes maybe you'll need to kind of wiggle your way in. You can see like this center oval piece here is the actual gas tube, or part of the gas tube. So that's important. Then it's kind of like little hood on the side is part of this little stamping on the end. So yeah, that's what we're trying to get rid of. So you got to get rid of that pin. Now, whether you sneak in the side here with a little zip disc on a Dremel or something and cut that pin off, make it flush with this, drive it out, drill it out, whatever you got to do, get it out of there, right? So then once you're confident that the pin is not going to interfere with this little metal clip, which I am relatively confident right now, you can, this should just pop out, but it's usually stuck on there with grease and crud and everything else. So sometimes you can do is put something like a long metal bar or something in there and just kind of try to lever it out. So I'm pushing the palm of my hand on the side of the wood here, and the wood is touching this little metal flange, metal end plate, whatever, right? So I'm just kind of pushing it out and pulling with it up, pushing down, and it rotates out. Now that we're at this point, we don't need that anymore. We can kind of wiggle this a little bit. We're trying to wiggle this wooden like overhang out of this, I don't know, this flange or whatever you want to call it here. Looks like a mantle actually from a tank, but anyway. So we wiggle this out. And now, depending how old your firearm is and everything else, this wood is swollen and greasy and nasty and everything else, right? So it's in there. But yeah, we end up in a situation, something like this. So this piece here now is just, not trash, but just put it aside, sell it, whatever you need to do, right? If you ever want to put your wooden stock back on, you're going to need that and a new pin or something, right? So no big deal. So at this point, we have essentially a totally woodless, stripped down SKS, right? We got rid of the buttstock area. We got rid of the wood up here. And now it's time to throw her into this chassis. So the chassis has just a couple screws in it, nothing too crazy. But these little guys here, they are probably 5/64ths, I think. Let's see if it fits. Oh yeah, it fits, right? So standard threads, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So we're just going to kind of spin these out. Get that guy out of the way, put him somewhere safe. Same with this guy. So I guess this part of the video is almost like preparing your chassis for installation. with the rifle, your donor rifle. So I'll get them out of there. And the chassis are aluminum, so you want to make sure you're not stripping threads or anything, that they go back together. And you can use any sort of Allen keys you got. They are hex keys, right? So, and these are Imperial, so that's why I'm using an Imperial one here. Made in good old Canada. Yeah, I guess I should say that. All of this this chassis is all made in Canada. And it's, like I said, it's been through many different names in the past, whether it was Wartech, whether it was Matador, all these different things. So they've been out there. And let's see, it should say made in Canada somewhere. Well, it's scratched off, this one. This is actually a blemished one, but yeah. So now these screws are out. This piece here will just kind of peel off. And we've got this little adapter down here. You can see it's like a black piece versus the tan piece. This is what's going to allow your AR style pistol grip to screw into it. So we got to get the screw out of there. Here we go. So this screw is essentially what we're going to do now is just, there's two holes in here, one threaded one, that's a 1/4 inch thread for the grip, and it's the screw here. So we're going to just, it's the only one that's in the stock chassis thing when you get it out of the box. So, or bag, or however it gets to you. And yeah, so we're just going to back this little boy out. Look at that, a million threads later. Come on. Okay, so that's out now. So here we go. We got our chassis, the top piece is removed, and the pistol grip dealie is removed. So at this point, we're just going to kind of reverse the process of taking it out of the wood stock. So this little flange by my thumb here kind of goes inside of this thing, and it just kind of rocks together. Now, this is a good time to note this square pin here. It's important, don't remove it. Sometimes they stick out. You can kind of see this one here. It's sticking out of the side of the receiver a little bit. So you can't control how thick and how wide those are. It comes out of both sides. So we've done the best we can to machine these receivers so that they go in nicely, right? But it may stick there on yours. That's kind of what was just happening there. It was sticking a little bit. And as I squished it down, it just kind of, finds its way, and it's good to go. All right. So that is in there. And the next thing we would do is put this back on, right? Slide it up, find our holes. Yeah, you can see our holes are good. And we'll fire those screws back in. And then we would reinstall this here and our pistol grip. And then, of course, your buffer tube and stuff screws in here. But since this is a special one, I want to take a moment. We're going to stop here, and we're going to kind of come back to this, the SKS for a sec, so we can just kind of roll this thing out of the stock, just like you would your real one. So you're going to put the muzzle down, push here, and it rolls out. So this is where I was saying you could see before the front sight has been removed, right? Well, I don't want to push this all the way down now because this little piston thing will fly out. There's a second piston and another spring inside of here. So if I push this all the way down to the closed position, that's going to fly out with force of a supernova or something. I don't know. The force of that crazy meteor that hit Russia back in the day. Anyway, so the front sight. Let's talk front sights for a second. The front sight is retained basically on these two little ears, or it's like a pin that's in there. So this round thing here and here. Then inside of the receiver, I don't know if you can see it, but the hole that it goes into, yeah, you can kind of see it here. This is a leaf spring down here, so we're going to need that, so we don't want to take it out now, but it goes down and on an angle, so you can see how the pin would have been up high, up here, right? And then to get it out, I have to kind of drive it down and on an angle back. So you kind of want to bounce it out. There's many different ways to do it, but the bounce out method is the easiest. So if this was in there, it would look something like this, right? So you kind of want to whack this edge right here with a screwdriver on an angle with a rubber hammer or something. And you're going to cause this whole thing to go down and then slide back at the same time. And they just pop off and they go into oblivion. So now you got that done. Let's, oh, look at that. Push it too far and out comes that other spring. We'll have to fix that in a second. So this is a scope rail. And so, there's all the different kinds, and some of them go onto this top cover here, and they kind of bolt on, but this top cover kind of rattles about. It's not really locked in super hard. So this one is going to lock into where our front sight was, that same hole, and through the back. So that means this pin that's here has to leave. So remember from previous videos, we're going to rotate this up and you kind of slide it out, right? Then once we get to a certain point, all the guts of the gun are going to kind of jump back a little bit right there. And then you can take this off and you can rip out your whole carrier group or whatever you want to do here. And you can't really see it on this one because in order to save time, I cut it off already. But there was a little protrusion, a little pin sitting there. So in the other SKS videos, I talked about how there's like a little keyhole that it has to go a certain way, blah, blah, blah. So same thing with the pins that we saw in that front handguard. Maybe you can drive it out. There's a little hole in the bottom of the receiver way down there. Maybe you can drive it through there. Probably won't be able to. Maybe you can cut it off, drill it off, hammer it out, whatever. But that needs to go so that we can get this piece out of here, right? Now, what we're going to want to do is, I said before, this little leaf spring that's in there, it's actually important for spacing and keeping tension on the front of these rails. So if we put this rail in here, and then we got you can see it doesn't really want to go in because there's the hole I need the pin to go through, and there's the hole in the rail, right? So they kind of like, they don't really line up very well because we're going to squish that leaf spring now, and then we can do it until the holes line up, right? There you go. So you may want to stick something small through there, like, I don't know, a little Allen key or something to kind of keep it lined up while you're doing your stuff. But yeah, you can do that. There you go. So now she can't pop up and go into the abyss. And what we need to do is drive a roll pin. So let me just grab that for you. So this roll pin, it's like a big spring thing, right? You kind of see it. These are the ones that are really good for vibration dampening. So there's special tools you can get that have a little nipple. So this guy here, well, this is actually busted, but it's essentially a flat face. Let's assume this is a flat face, right? The correct tool to do this, you could use the starter, which you may or may not have, but you really should use one of these. These are called pilot punch sets. So these tools here have little tiny, almost like nipples on the end. I'll just explain what that's for in just a second. So you see this guy here, he's got like a little protrusion on the end of him. So that's going to fit on the inside of that hole. So when we kind of hammer on this, we don't have to worry about mushrooming it out and doing weird stuff. Because if you mushroom it out, it's going to get harder and harder to install, if not impossible. So this one looks like it might be a little bit small for this, but for the sake of this argument, it should be good. So what I like to do is kind of look and try to, maybe these are a little bit different. Sometimes one end is a little bit more chamfered or smaller than the other. So in this one, with my calibrated eye, I think this side's just ever so slightly smaller than this side. So now we basically just put it in this hole. We want to make sure that it's all lined out here. And then we're just going to tap it in. So if you had a roll pin starter, it would look something like this. It would be a bigger one. It would have a hole drilled in the end of it, so you could just put it right over top of the entire roll pin. But with this one here, we can get away with just using a driver. So it appears that I don't have a solid table here to hammer this in. So let's just take a quick break, and I will run to the other room and put it on a solid table and get it in, and we'll come right back. So we're back. So I hammered this pin in, and I kind of screwed it up on purpose just so I could show you something here. Remember I said just a couple seconds ago, this might be a little bit small, and it was. So when I hammered it in, it caused this to flare out, which is kind of exactly what we were trying to avoid doing. So this pin would need to be replaced at this point. So you can see it's kind of split. It's really hard metal, right? It's kind of like done some weird shearing thing that's split open. So that is what will happen if you whack it with the wrong size driver and or just start whacking on it. This causes it to blow out this way from the middle. So as you can see, there's a nice big clear hole right through it now. And if it was the other way, it would have flared it like a mushroom, which again is bad. But for argument's sake, we can just keep going on here. So this is now pinned in the front with the spring. So as this opens, you can feel it's got some tension. So this is going to prevent you from using stripper clips, unfortunately. But we can't really open it all the way. But if you remove that little leaf spring that we talked about in there, this will open all the way. However, it will be a little bit jiggly up here because there's a little slight tolerance in there. So the spring is taking up that difference. So now what we're going to want to do is put the bolt and the bolt carrier back in. So we lock them in, and then with this situation, as usual, gravity is our friend. So you can just turn them upside down, slide them in, and there he goes. We put our springs in there. And now instead of, we're still going to use that top cover. There he is. And this guy has the tang in the middle. Oh, there's that little slot. So that was the pin that goes to that little slot that we cut off a few minutes ago. So this is the pin that how it was from the factory, right? Kind of going through there, doing its thing. And so we removed all that. We're still going to use this cover because you don't really want grime and crud and everything else, all the other good stuff going on your spring and group. So now we're going to push this in, compress it, and slide this down so that our holes line up. Oh no, the holes don't line up perfectly. So what do we do? How are we going to ram a screw that looks an awful lot like this through there? So kind of can't do it, right? Unless you come back to your little Allen keys here. The top of these have again, another hex key. It's exactly the same one. We're trying to standardize everything here. So this is exactly the same one that was in the foregrip for this chassis. So now we've done that, we have a little bit of clearance here. We can move this guy around. We can do whatever we need to do. And then we can slide it in. So here we can see really clearly that this dust cover, for lack of better words, is protruding backwards. It's just the spring, the action spring. So we're going to kind of squish it forward. And then this screw should go in just about like that. So once this screw is pushed through, we're going to throw like a split ring washer on there for some vibration dampening and a nice nut. So when I said this is the budget version, because that's kind of our idea, you could buy one of these things from Kodiak Defense for like $100. So we're going to come out with this for like, less than $70. So I'm just using my, whatever hand strength here, but of course you're going to want to tighten this up nice. And this is actually a metric, since the commies like metric stuff. This hole is actually an M6 hole, so you should use I believe it's an M5 drive. But for the amount of pressure we're putting on this guy here is 3/16 fits close enough. So you can do that, put a little wrench on the back, tighten her up, whatever, right? And then once this is all set up here, we put a little bit of tension back on this set screw here. Or not set screw, it's just a little machine screw, right? And we do that here, and then this guy is going to tighten all up for us. And again, these threads are just into aluminum, so we don't want to go too crazy on this. And now we are in a position where this thing is rock solid. It doesn't wobble left, right, up, down, forwards, backwards, nothing. It's there. So the only thing that wiggles around is the dust cover underneath it. Okay, so now let's put this thing together. We got this whole special deal. So I'm going to clip this in here and rock and roll, rock them in. And of course, we're going to see that little square boss thing kind of poke at us. And there we go. So it's in, seated fully. So now that we're at this stage, we are going to want to retain the SKS firearm itself inside of the chassis. And so the way that's done is with the trigger group. So we got this little finger thing here, which detects the outer battery. And we got these little, this pin that goes through here. So we got to make sure that goes into the hole. Right there, there's a hole. You can see the shininess of the bolt through there. So we just got to kind of wiggle him in, wiggle him until he goes in. And there he goes. Then once that is in, we can kind of compress that thing just a little bit. Ready? There it goes. So down on an angle, and then there we go. Now we can see that little finger dealie we talked about before that we whacked to open it up. It wants to go. It's pretty much ready to go, right? We want to make sure for this next step that the safety is still on in the up position here, because we're going to essentially knock that back in. So if the safety got flipped to the fire position while we were messing around with this, it's going to not go on, and it's going to possibly damage something. Anyway, so we're just going to use my old trusty mallet here and just give her a good whack. And there she goes. You can see this is set. So it's gone over compressed and then it popped out. And it's, it's not crazy hard or anything like that. So now the SKS is like, it's in this chassis. It exists there. This is like locked together. They are fully mated now. So now the SKS is mated with the chassis. It's in there. So we can put this front handguard thing back on. So you would notice one side of the handguard is a big cutout. So that's for your kind of gas block and all that stuff, right? Oh, I guess we should finish the gas block too. While I was messing with this is the inner spring. So this is the guy that's all compressed and rammed inside of this gas block. So ideally don't let him out, because it's less than fun to push him back in there. They're going to compress this thing a whole whack, and if it wants to jump free on you, well, she's gone. But you can use something like, I don't know, the piston itself works pretty good. So then you can do that. And then it's locked in. So we're seeing now this pin that I had broken. So I'll have to repair this off camera. But that's blocking the motion of this little lever, which is less than ideal. So that's why you don't want to mess that up. So the piston just goes in here like that, right? It pokes out the back side. No big deal. And this kind of rocks and rolls into the front here like usual. And then we got the piston in the gas tube, right? So we're going to make sure that he goes in just nice and so. It doesn't have to, because if it sticks through too far, the back end of the piston pops out here and it won't fit into the receiver. So just kind of get it to the nice spot there. And then it's going to rock in. You can use this little flangey thing, mantle-y thing, whatever, to kind of give you an idea on how square this is. And then this is going to go right back in where it was before. Ouch. We're not playing nicely today. Let's leave it out then. Okay, so we got the gas piston inside of the little gas tube here, right? We want to make sure it's not poking out too far, because if it is, this is going to cause us troubles in there. So we just kind of slide them on here, and we kind of roughly align this mantle thing, because this is like a square boss back here, right? Yeah, we just got to kind of find the right spot where it wants to go in. Okay, so we got everything back in here. Did a little bit of off-screen magic here. I made that pin, replaced the pin, repaired it. Everything's good there. So we got to make sure our piston's inside of the gas tube. Goes in like this, of course, right? And then you want to make sure it doesn't go through too far, because if it's in like that, it's going to be blocking us for the next thing we got to do. And then is we can kind of see this is a bit of like a rectangular, ovally shaped thing kind of thing. So we can use this kind of mantelet part on the front as kind of like a rough guide as we're putting it in to make sure it's in straight. Because now we've lost the wooden handguard as a reference. You try to put it in like this and she ain't going to go, right? So if we go like this and kind of line it up, we'll see this piece dropped in absolutely perfectly. Very nice. And then we continue to push this down and lock it in as normal. So now the gas piston is connected to that little micro piston that we saw in there. All right, so this is ready to go back together now. So the handguard piece, you can just kind of slide it on like this. Line up our holes, our threaded holes. So without losing these screws, they're actually not too bad to lose, I guess. So I like to do, I think we talked about this with the shotgun thing last time. If you go backwards a little bit, you can feel it drop into the threads. Right there. And now I know for sure I'm not cross-threading because this is a steel screw that I'm threading into aluminum. So we want to be very careful with this. And we usually don't want to go full tight right now because we want to make sure we can make minor adjustments and minor motions to this upper handguard piece here. And yeah, so let's go. There we go. Go backwards until I feel it drop. Right there. Okay, same as before, just nice and easy here, right? Not fully tight. Flip them over. Let's do the same thing on the other side. You can kind of peek in the holes yourself too and see if it needs to be moved up, down, left, right, whatever, right? So you can do all that kind of stuff. And this one here, we lucked out. It was pretty much perfect. So let's do the backwards thing again. Feel for that start of the thread. Because if you strip this, it's not going to be so fun. Okay. I don't feel the drop. There is. So we tighten him up. Just again, a little bit. We only have one left. And this one here could be the hardest to get in. But looks like in this case, everything is perfect, which is sweet. Same thing. I'm going to go backwards a little bit. And there's the click. So it fell into position. Oops, maybe not. Let's try again. We're trying to just use the same kind of tools that you guys would have available. So this is just a standard, little Allen key set here. All right, so we're threading this guy in. So now we can kind of tighten him up a little bit. Nothing crazy because, again, steel threads, aluminum chassis. So just a little bit. Just go until you kind of feel a bit of a bounce in there. Tighten this up. Oh, now we're getting somewhere, right, guys? This thing's starting to look pretty sick. So now we got all this stuff here. We can, put our flashlights on, our lasers, whatever, put our scopes up here. And so now all that's missing is the buffer tube and the pistol grip. So back to this guy, we can find our screw or our Allen key. Here he is here. So we're going to just fold all this up, drop them in. We can see there's one threaded hole right there, way down. Okay. And then you just got to get this guy in here. We're going to drop him in here and tighten him up. Same thing, steel screws into aluminum chassis. So we're going to go until we feel the click. There he is. So the click is just that kind of first thread bobbling in. So this now, it can be, it's a bigger screw. You can go a little bit tighter. So that's on there. Now we need to find our pistol grip. So these are being provided with ATI grips and ATI stocks. Okay, so this is going to be retained by a quarter-inch socket head cap screw, and it's got a you're going to need a longer reach. So this is a 3/16. So the reason I need a longer reach now because I have to go all the way up inside of here, and we can see the angle of this piece here is it's quite substantial. So we need to kind of match an angle like that. So that could be a tendency maybe put this thing on to try to screw it up straight, but that's not the angle. It needs to be on a nice sharp angle. And so we got these special screws that have extra bit of taper on the end. So we just kind of drop this in here, drop this in there, and we can see our screw poking out in there. So we know it's in the right spot. Seeing that? And then slide this on and find our hard angle, which is something like that. We just memorize how it was, right? This is still steel into aluminum, so we might want to do the backwards thread thing, but I felt the click immediately, so I'm just going to send it. And almost there. There we go. Nice and snug. Now, the bottom of the grip, we've got these... this is modified so it's easy to put in, I guess, but it still needs a longer hex key. This piece here, you can hide some stuff in there like snacks or whatever. So we got two screws here. These holes are threaded, and we made it, very conveniently, the exact same size as the other screws. The same screws we use in the chassis and up here and everywhere else. So let me just grab two of those. Okay, I'm back. So you're just going to pop them in there. And so this is steel screws going into plastic. That's actually like a fiberglassy type stuff. So, yeah, let's see, find the right one. Here he goes. That feels good. Nice and gentle. Nothing crazy here, right? We're not using an impact. No air guns or nothing like that to make this thing in there. Just nice and gentle. This is... arguably, this will stay on without these screws, but I just think it looks nicer with the screws, so it's up to you. And you can fortunately put any grip. So this is, since we're running a beaver tail here, and this has a standard AR-15 size piece, any Magpul grip or Fab Defense, whatever you got, will fit in there, no problem. Okay, so we got a pistol grip. Now, the last thing we got to do is a butt stop. So this is our AR-style buffer tube. So we're providing this ATI. You got a buffer tube so you can adjust your position. Sounds kind of cool. You can go up and down with this cheek piece. Just kind of loosen these screws off here and up and down, whatever you need to do. So for those of you who are new to this world, essentially, this is really, you don't need all the guts that go in there. Oops. The way this works is this little tab thing here. This piece is going to go into the stock, this little detent here. And then this little finger sticking up the middle is going to ride through the slot on the bottom of here to help lock it in place. So essentially, and the castle nut, of course, locks it all in place as well. So we're going to leave this in that position. And you kind of want these teeth of the castle to be bumped out. And then we're going to slide this on here. And we know that this little detent needs to be facing towards the chassis. So we can just put this in here. And this big hole in the back of the chassis is threaded. So we can just kind of put them in there. This is aluminum into aluminum, and it's nice big beefy thread, so you can feel them. They go in nice and easy here. And we're just going to turn this in a bunch of times. You can go until it stops. You can go until whenever you feel like it, right? If you need a little bit of extra space, you can do that. You know, keep this down a wee bit more. So notice I'm not using any crazy wrenches. I'm not using impact guns or anything. It's just all by hand. Nice and easy. Hand tight. Okay, so now we're going to stop this and kind of line it up there. And we wiggle this end plate, is what this is called, until that little detent that we saw, the opposite side of this, finds its home inside of that hole. And then once that's done, you can see that the metal is basically touching, the steel is touching the aluminum there. Now you just tighten the castle nut. So now, there's a wrench for this and stuff you can get if you want. But the cheater way is just to hit it with a screwdriver. You know, righty tighty lefty loosey, you just put a screwdriver in there and just give her a bit of a tap. But yeah, there you go. So now our end plate's on. So that means this little detent is interfaced with the buffer tube through this slot. So the stock can't rotate anymore. It's good to go. We have our adjustable butt stock and adjustable comb. And just like that, we are done, ladies and gentlemen. So in this current configuration, we can run our Tapco style duckbill mags. Sometimes it'll work with the OEM style duckbill, but it doesn't usually like that. It wants something like this. If you're going this far to make a cool looking gun, you might as well go with some cool mags, right? So we're just gonna, as normal, lock this little cutout here into the notch in the bottom of the barrel where your OEM duckbill would have gone, and then just straight back. It's not going. Why is it not going? Because the bolt on this firearm was not modified with a detachable box mag, or detachable, or changing your magazines on a closed bolt. So it has those little lips in the bottom of the bolt. So since I didn't want to just, if I would have just rammed in there, I would have broken these plastic feed lips. So now let's try this again. So again, nice and gentle. We can see there she goes. And as we push it in, the geometries of this is making this piece here slide back. And click. There you go. So now we have, check this thing out, right? This is the whole deal. You got your bayonet, you got a big mag, you got a nice grip, you can change, customize whatever you want. You got a stock, you can change, customize whatever you want. You got a buffer tube, right? So again, any mag pull stock you want, you know, put a PRS or something on there, you can do it. Any stock you got, away you go. Since this is AR size buffer tube threads, you can put a folding stock adapter or whatever you got on there, right? And you've got this bolted in nicely. This is our scope rail, so you can put a scope up here, a flashlight on the side, whatever you want to do, and you have yourself one tacticool SKS without too much bubble going on, really. Just kind of shave down a couple pins. One thing I wanted to mention just before I forget, I just kind of forgot earlier, is on this is the leaf sight, the front sight. This one's solid. Some of them have a hole drilled right through the middle here, and they'll drive a pin. So you can see it when you look. Before you take it out, you can see it in that little hole there. And you're going to need to get rid of that little pin smell. Either knock it out, drill it out, file it out, whatever. Otherwise, you'll never get this thing out. It's just kind of like a safety to prevent this sight from coming out. But if you want to put this in, you got to do it like that. So, like I said, this is our blem stocks. There's a very limited number of these, and so we consider this to be blemished. It's got like little chips in the paint and stuff. And these are painted at this time. So you can, you know, scratch it, damage it, whatever. It'll end up with a kind of a cool battle look in a short period of time. But yeah, we got two options for you. We got the F&P and we got the black. My table is falling. FTE, we got the black. They both run these big cool mags. This one's got the optional rail on the top. This one doesn't, so you can kind of see how it is. So the black one we can feed with strippers and everything else, good to go. And this top one here, we can put, you're kind of not going to be able to feed it with strippers anymore. Well, definitely not strippers, but you could maybe force some cartridges in there manually if you need to, or just change your mags. Because this, when you get to this level of customization, you're kind of planning on running these detachable duckbill mags. So yeah, there you go. This is our next big launch, as promised, and there's more SKS stuff coming. So if you want, I've got another one of those mags I can throw in, but yeah. This video has taken a long time to make, because I'm going so slow. If you were to do this at home, you had all your tools set up, you could probably knock this off in like 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes tops. So I just try to go nice and slow so everyone can do it. On a terms of difficulty, this is like a 3 out of 10 because you got to file a couple little things here and there. But everything else is basically just screws together, plug and play, and you're laughing. So yeah, you end up with this kind of cool looking things. The SKS in this black chassis, again, it's a blend. You see some little dents and chips and stuff in it, right? This is a Chinese one, so Chinese works. This is a Soviet. The Soviets work. This is your next cool upgrade if you want a kind of a black tactical looking gun. And if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe to our videos, and you'll be the first to know of these kind of cool new things coming out. So thanks for watching. Just like Grandma says, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans and then tripping over them.